War is chaos. Screams, smoke, blood. It's all around, and every second can be the difference between life and death. Amid the carnage of World War II, medics faced the impossible. Save lives with almost nothing, under fire, with the clock ticking mercilessly. Yet, hidden in the trenches and hospitals was a simple, almost forgotten trick that saved thousands. And the wild part? It still works today, even outside the battlefield. The battlefield of World War II was unforgiving. Explosions tore through the earth. Shrapnel ripped uniforms and flesh alike. Soldiers suffered injuries that even the best hospitals would struggle to treat today. Infection was a silent killer, far deadlier than bullets or shells. A shallow wound could spiral into gangrene in a matter of hours. Medics had to act fast. Conventional treatments were slow and risky. Evacuating the wounded meant exposing them to more danger. Field hospitals were crowded, and supplies were scarce. Medics couldn't rely on fancy equipment or large stockpiles of medicine. They had to improvise. And that's where this forgotten trick comes in. The secret was deceptively simple: rapid wound cooling and controlled infection prevention. Medics discovered that if they applied a precise combination of cold compresses and naturally antiseptic solutions directly to a wound, they could dramatically reduce the risk of infection while stabilizing the soldier for evacuation. Cold slowed blood flow just enough to prevent catastrophic bleeding, while the antiseptic properties of certain natural compounds kept bacteria from taking hold. What makes it incredible is that this method required nothing more than items often carried in the medic's pack, or in some cases found in the field. Alcohol, sugar solutions, and even clean soil in some environments played a critical role. These techniques weren't taught in medical schools at the time. They were battlefield-born, honed through necessity, observation, and quick thinking. Imagine a medic crouched beside a soldier, artillery booming around them. There's no time to think, no luxury of a sterile hospital room. Every second counts. By using the cold and antiseptic trick, the medic could reduce bleeding immediately, giving the wounded person a fighting chance to survive long enough to reach proper care. It wasn't perfect. Medics had to judge precisely how long to keep the compress in place, how much antiseptic to apply, and which areas of the body were safe to treat in this way. Too much pressure or too long a cold application could harm tissue. Too little and infection would set in. The medics who mastered this art were almost like battlefield surgeons, but without the luxury of operating theaters. The result? Thousands of soldiers walked away from what could have been fatal injuries. Entire units that might have been wiped out recovered, regrouped, and returned to the front lines. It was a trick that didn't just save individuals, it shifted outcomes in entire battles. You might think this is ancient history, a relic of World War II. But here's the kicker. This trick is timeless. Modern survivalists, hikers, and emergency responders can use the same principle when every second counts. Cold and antiseptic, applied intelligently, still stabilizes injuries in ways that are surprisingly effective. You don't need a military medic kit. Even a clean cloth soaked in cold water, combined with a basic antiseptic, can drastically improve someone's chances after a traumatic injury. It's not just theory. Field tests in remote areas and wilderness first aid courses prove it works. The wisdom of those medics isn't locked in history books. It's alive in every practical, life-saving first aid application today. What makes this trick fascinating isn't just the mechanics, it's the mindset. World War II medics didn't panic. They adapted. They saw scarcity as a challenge to be overcome. They used intuition, observation, and ingenuity in ways that modern medical training rarely emphasizes. For viewers here on Wisdom from the Front Lines, there's a big takeaway. Survival isn't about fancy gadgets. It's about knowledge, timing, and improvisation. Understanding and applying these historical techniques can give you an edge, whether you're prepping for emergencies, exploring the wild, or just looking to sharpen your real-world readiness. It's about thinking like those medics, calm under pressure, resourceful, and precise. A simple trick, executed perfectly, can beat chaos itself. History isn't just stories about old battles, it's a repository of practical wisdom. The cold and antiseptic medic trick shows how human ingenuity can transform the impossible into reality. And the thrill is that it's still accessible to anyone willing to learn. By respecting the methods of those who came before us, we can survive where others might fail. We can apply lessons from a battlefield decades ago to everyday emergencies today. And that's the essence of wisdom from the front lines. Uncovering hidden techniques, decoding lost knowledge, and giving you tools that work when you need them most. So the next time you hear a World War II story, remember the medics crouching in mud, blood on their hands and hearts racing. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were inventing the kind of solutions that endure. The next time someone scoffs at old tricks, you'll know the truth. Some knowledge is immortal. Don't let this wisdom vanish again. Subscribe to Wisdom from the Frontlines, share this video with anyone who values real preparedness, and keep history alive in the most practical way possible. Because the lessons of the past don't just teach, they save lives.